Premanande Namo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Sri Guru Vandana, the lotus feet of our spiritual master, the only way by which we can attain your devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet, great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord birth after birth. From me ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. May your fame be spread all over the 3 worlds. Please give us shelter at your lotus feet, Srila Prabhupada. Adita Bhavan Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
I think he is on the room. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Janavalla Varadhari Jaya Gopi Janavalla Varadhari Yashodanandana Vajajanaranjanam Yashodanandana Vajajanaranjanam Yamunatira Vanacharya Yamunatira Vanacharya Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Yamunatira Vanacharya Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanacharya Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Kunja Vihari Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Virakacharya Astuttara Shata Shishrimat His Divine Grace Abhai Charana Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON and BBT Founder Acharya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Srila Prabhupada Ji Ki Gaur Premanande All glorious assembly devotees All glorious assembly devotees All glorious assembly devotees All glorious, all glorious, all glorious to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Nama Om Krishna Padaya Krishna Prasthana Shmati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tavani Namaste Saraswati Dev Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shmevadi Pasya Drishtani Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nasta Praisha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhakti Bhavatina Istiki Shringvatang Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Ridantastohya Bhadrani Vidunot Suritsatam Krishna Swadhamopagate Dharma Gyanadi Bisaha Kalonastadishamesha Puranar Kondodita Maha Krishna Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 4, Chapter 22, Prit Maharaj meeting with the four Kumaras. Verse 52. Repeat after me. Griheshu Vatmano Api Griheshu Vatmanopi Griheshu Vatmanopi Sa Sangraja Shriyam Vitaha Sa Sangraja Shriyam Vitaha Sa Sangraja Shriyam Vitaha Nasa Jatendriyartheshu Nasa Jatendriyartheshu Nirahamati Arkavat Nirahamati Arkavat Nirahamati Arkavat Graheshu Vatmanopi Sasaraja Shriyam Vitaha Nasajatendriyartheshu Nirahamati Arkavat Griheshu Vatmanopi Sasaraja Shriyam Vitaha Nasajatendriyartheshu Nirahamati Arkavat. Devotees. Griheshu Vatmano api
Sa Samrajaya Sriyam Nivata
Sa Samraja Shriyam Vitaha
Nasaja Tendriyarteshu
Nasajatendriyartheshu
Nirahamati Arkavat
Nirahamati Arkavat
Griheshu Vartamanopi
Griheshu Vatmanopi
Sa Samraja Shriyam Vitaha
Sa Samraja Shriyam Vitaha Nasajatendriyartheshu Nirahamati Arkavat. Vaishnavis. Griheshu Vatmanopi Sasaraja Shriyam Vitaha Nasajatendriyartheshu Nirahamati Arkavat. Griheshu Vatmanopi
Sa Samraja Sriyam Vitaha
Nasajatendriyartheshu Nirahamati Arkavat. Word by word. Griheshu at home. Vatmanaha being present. Api Audhog. Saha King Prithu. Saraja the entire empire. Shriya opulence. Shri comes from the Lakshmi, the gods of fortune. This female is indicates opulence. Shri Lakshmi Devi. Anvitaha being absorbed in. Na never. Asajjata became attracted. in the arteshu for sense gratification, nihi, nor, like in Latin, nihil, ni, nor, aham, I am, mati, consideration, arka, the sun, vat, like. Translation from Sanskrit to English. Maharaj Prithu, who was very opulent due to the prosperity of his entire empire, remained at home as a householder. Since he was never inclined to utilize his opulences for the gratification of his senses, he remained unattached, exactly like the sun, which is unaffected in all circumstances. Let's go repeat together. Maharaj Prithu, who was very opulent due to the prosperity of his entire empire. Yeah, this means that the whole world remained at home as a householder. Since he was never inclined to utilize his opulence for the gratification of his senses, he remained unattached, exactly like the sun, which is unaffected in all circumstances. Purport. The word griheshu is significant in this verse. Out of the 4 ashrams, the brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas, only a grihastha or householder is allowed to associate with women. Therefore, the grihastha ashram is a kind of license for sense gratification given to the devotee. But Maharaj was special in that although he was given license to remain a householder, and although he possessed immense opulences in his kingdom, he never engaged in sense gratification. This was a special sign that indicated him to be a pure devotee of the Lord. A pure devotee is never attracted by sense gratification, and consequently he is liberated. In material life, a person engages in sense gratification for his own personal satisfaction, but in the devotional or liberated life, one aims to satisfy the senses of the Lord. In this verse, Maharaj Prithu is likened to the sun, Arkavat. Sometimes the sun shines on stool, urine, and so many other polluted things. But since the sun is all-powerful, it is never affected by the polluted things with which it associates. On the contrary, the sunshine sterilizes and purifies polluted and dirt places. These are very famous, very classical analogies of Prabhupada. On the contrary, similarly, a devotee may engage in so many material activities, but because he has no desire for sense gratification, they never affect him. On the contrary, he dovetails all material activities for the service of the Lord. Since a pure devotee knows how to utilize everything to the Lord's service, he is never affected by material activities. Instead, by his transcendental plans, he purifies such activities. This is described in Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu, Sarva Padivinimuktam Tat Paratvena Nirmalam. His aim is to become completely purified in the service of the Lord without being affected by material designations. Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Gyanantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistang Staptan Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahayam Dadati Sva Padantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Jaya Pataka Swami Nitnamne. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitnamne. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachayine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyate Dishtarine Vancha Kalpatarungyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Tat Sat. Griheshu Vatmanopi Sa Sanraja Shriyam Viktaha Na Sajatendri Arteshu Nirahamati Arkavad. Maharaj Prithu, who was very opulent due to the prosperity of his entire empire, remained at home as a householder. Since he was never inclined to utilize his opulences for the gratification of his senses, he remained unattached, exactly like the sun, which is unaffected in all circumstances. Hare Krishna. Good morning to everyone. Thanks for coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class. This is very important sadhana, part of sadhana for spiritual life. How do you know I don't speak English? And every devotees go travel to the mountains, yes, take a vacation, and I stay alone and without translator. Okay, but this verse is a very special verse, and this chapter is a very special chapter also, because the four Kumaras is a great devotees. They are Mahajans. They are very great authorities in Bhakti Yoga, in devotional service. It's very, very special. It's very, very great opportunity heard from him. And they are have a conversation with a great devotee, that is Prithu Maharaj. Prithu Maharaj is a personification of Arajarshi, a saintly king, and he's a great devotee, because this conversation between Kumaras and Prithu Maharaj is very, very special to enlightening all of us. I will start with the translation by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur for this verse. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur get it together, verse 51 and 52. Offering our results to Brahman, being unattached, attentive, recognizing the Antaryami, Paramatma, as the controller of Prakriti, being free false ego. Like the sun, he was not contaminated by sense objects, though he remained a householder with kingdom and wealth. For us understand a little the context that we are now, I choose featured verses in this chapter for introduce the class. This is a verse 27. When a person becomes devoid of all material desires and liberated from all material qualities, he transcends distinctions between actions executed externally and internally. At the time, the difference between the soul and supersoul, which was existing before self-realization, is annihilated. When a dream is over, there is no longer a distinction between the dream and the dreamer. Yeah? when the conditional souls abandoned, desist of all kinds of material desires, is like the soul, us, wake up of a dream. What keep the spiritual soul in this world is the mind attachments, because we don't have a connection between the soul, us, and the material world, Prakriti. The soul is totally pure, yes, but the link happens in this subtle platform. When the mind, the intelligence is attached to material things, we keep in the cycle of birth and death, the samsara chakra. But because of the purification, the soul don't want more material things, the soul is liberated. Because the soul don't need more material body to continue your desires. We have a material body because we have a material desires. But if we don't have more material desires, what is the function, the work of the body? Yes? Because this, when the mind, the intelligence are purified, don't want more material things, only want Krishna. This is the liberated platform, freedom for the soul. Verse 28, when the soul exists for sense gratification, he creates different desires. And for that reason, he becomes subjected to designations, yes? Body designations, yes? Country designations, gender designations, work designations, occupation designations. But when one is in the transcendental position, he is no longer interested in anything except fulfilling the desires of the Lord. This is verse 28. Yeah? Oh, what is the liberated soul and what is the conditioned soul? These are two verses. Very important to explain this. Verse 32. There is no stronger obstruction to one's self-interest than thinking other subject matters to be more pleasing than one's self-realization. This is a very interesting verse, because shows how balanced is the knowledge. On the Vedas, the sense gratification not is condemned, not is condemned. What explains in the Vedas is the regular sense gratification. But in this portion of the Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, especially Srimad Bhagavatam is like Paramahansa Samhita. Srimad Bhagavatam is a scripture to very, very high elevated souls, yes, very, very elevated sages. Because that persons that are in this platform, the platform to heard Srimad Bhagavatam, they're not more interested in material things. They are very, very controlled persons. But in general, especially in Vedic, in Rig Veda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda, the sense gratifications is regulated. But here, the Kumaras explain a very interesting point, yes? We need to put the focus of spiritual life. And another things coming together. But when when we do like this material civilization now, that only focus is sense gratification and forget completely about self-realization, about the Lord, about God, this is very bad. Yes, if your focus is in self-realization, in bhakti, for the peoples that are attached to the material world, the sense gratifications come naturally. But the problem is when forget completely the Lord and only search the money and material things. Akama sarvakama va moksha kama udadahiti vena bhakti yogena yajit purusham param. For who that have all desires, for that who don't have desire, or for that persons that have moksha, impersonal liberation, worship Bhagavan, worship Yajita Purushan, you worship the Krishna. Sanat Kumar advised the king, this is verse 37, therefore, my dear King Prithu, try to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is living within everyone's heart along with the individual soul in each and every body. Either moving or not moving, the individual souls are fully covered by the gross material body and subtle body made of the life, air, and intelligence. This is a recommendation for the Kumaras to do bhakti. Yes, this is very important because they start the verse with the expression therefore. Yes, this is a very important that you will speak. Therefore, my dear King Prithu, do performance in bhakti yoga. From verse 42, the king begins to glorify the four Kumaras. Verse 44. Connected with today's theme, Prithu Maharaj makes the following statement in the verse 44. The king continued, therefore, my dear Brahmanas, my life, wife, children, home, furniture, and household paraphernalia, my kingdom, strength, land, and especially my treasury are all offered unto you. Here the Prithu Maharaj glorified the Brahmanas, especially the four Kumaras. Yes, the relationship between Brahmanas and Kshatriyas is very, very important to keep in a healthy society. Because today we have in the worst case only Vaishyas, people that make money, people that like of money, like bankers and all kind of people have a deep interest in make money, Vaishyas. From verse 49, Maitreya Muni begins to glorify the devotional service of Prithu Maharaj. Okay, we are in this section when Prithu Maharaj is glorified. And one important point of this verse, and the point that I will give focus, is renunciation. All religion, all first-class religion will give very attention to renunciation. How one can think in God, how one can be absorbed in God if I have many material attachments. Yes, because of these material attachments, we have a new material body. Krishna is so merciful on this path, on this way. Because like Paramatma inside of our heart, Krishna satisfies our desires. If the spiritual soul wants material things, want to have a life in material world, Krishna satisfies the desire of the spiritual soul and give it to him, to her, a material body. Because these steps, the sequential steps, so much important. Yes, knowledge. When we speak about knowledge, knowledge means jnana. Jnana means the difference, understand the difference of material and spiritual, the body, material body, and the spiritual platform. Difference of the body and soul. This is real knowledge. Knowledge means know about the Brahman, about the Atma. When real knowledge, you can act properly in material world. How you do properly activities on the world if you don't have knowledge? This is a problem of this society. The society don't have knowledge about the soul. But if you don't have knowledge about the soul, all your activities will be bad, will be wrong. Sorry for doing that. But the activities is too much important. Remember the Western country, the Western society, thinking a lot about the activity. Activity means moral, ethic. At least 2,500 years, the Greeks started thinking about the moral, the proper activity of the human beings. But if you don't understand, if you don't have knowledge that we are spiritual soul, never will be a properly ideal moral for the society. Because all activities in renounced start with knowledge, start with jnana. And this is the sequence in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna's teaching from the verse 11 to 30 of second chapter about jnana, difference of spiritual soul and the material body. And after verses 34, 38, he will explain about the activity moral, yes, karma. Jnana first and karma, activities after. And natural vairagya take this sequence also. Okay, yukta vairagya, the true or complete renunciation. Okay, a contest. Out of compassion for his relatives and high people like Bhishma and Drona, his masters, Arjuna wanted to renounce the battle of Kurukshetra, renounce his dharma as a kshatriya, and he went to go to the forest to become a mendicant, a beggar. But this is too much shame for a kshatriya like Arjuna. There's no sense for him. Such an attitude opens the discussion to one of the most important themes of the Bhagavad Gita. What is renunciation? Understood as sannyas or tyaga in Bhagavad Gita. The end, the goal of Bhagavad Gita is establish Bhakti Yoga, like the more elevated yoga. Yes, this is the function of these Bhakti Shastras, the Siddhanta on the Vedas, the conclusion of the Vedas, the Vedanta, the end of all knowledge is bhakti. Bhakti is the topmost, is the culmi of all knowledge. Yes? While our knowledge don't go to bhakti, our education is incomplete. There is a great deal of discussion on the topic, as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur demonstrates in his commentary on verse 3 of chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah? Bhakti is the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharma Parityajya Mayekam Sharanam Vraja. But Arjuna had many doubts, like how he will act, because this karma and karma yoga is a very important discussion in Bhagavad Gita. The ideal moral is this karma yoga, action, performance action to Krishna. And renunciation is or tyaga, sannyasa is a very important discussion also in Bhagavad Gita. That the chapter 18, the conclusion chapter of Bhagavad Gita, begins with this theme, and go what the verse 7 to 18 explain about this. On the verse 3 in chapter 18, open quote, the Lord describes other opinions about this is purported by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, the Lord describes other opinions about the meaning of tyaga, renounced. The Sankhya philosophers, Eke Manishanaha, say that all activities described in this scripture, because of being defective by inclusion of violence or other bad qualities, should be given up completely. On the other hand, the Mimamsakas from Jaimini Appare say that activities such as sacrifice cannot be given up because they are prescribed by the scriptures. Yes? On the historical moment of Bhagavad Gita, have had a deep discussion about renunciation, tyaga. And Krishna in Bhagavad Gita came to peaceful the different parts, to connect different parts in one opinion, the opinion from Krishna, the perfect opinion. But Krishna had already laid the foundations for balanced and perfect renunciation, Yukta Vairagya. In chapter 4, such renunciation derives from the knowledge, jnana, that everything is Brahman, spirit, and must be done in sacrifice, yagya, for the Brahman. Such renunciation is free from all kinds of karma. One akarma action. Verse 24, chapter 4. Brahmarpanam brahmahavir brahmagno brahmana hutan brahmaivatena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina. The oblation consisting of Brahman with Brahman as the ladle is offered into the fire which is Brahman. By the person who is Brahman, the person Brahman attains Brahman by being absorbed in actions of Brahman. Jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Shrimati Subhadra Maharani ki Jai. Shri Mahagauranitai ki Jai. The mysticism of Bhakti is everything that is offered to Brahman, to Krishna, have the same nature. In order to better understand the meaning of this verse above, which provides the basis for understanding Yukta Vairagya, I must ask whether this building we are in, which is called a temple, is spiritual or material. this building that we have now is material or spiritual? The devotees will answer that is spiritual, but practically all peoples that don't have this provide of spiritual knowledge will say that this building is material. If this building is built with material elements like brick, cement, stone, wood, paint, iron, rubber, construction materials made from the 5 elements like earth, water, fire, etc. How can be spiritual this? How can this be spiritual? What is the answer? The answer is depends. It depends on your knowledge and the ultimate purpose you give to these things. Talk the knowledge that Krishna is the supreme owner of all things and the source of manifold energies. Yes, this verse 29 of Bhagavad Gita, Bhuktarang Yagatapasang Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. This is the knowledge. This is the understand for what we will act in the world. If I don't understand, if I don't have the knowledge that Krishna is the supreme controller and the supreme owner, who will be the owner on the world? Me, my false ego. And acting on this way, I only get more birth and death on this material world because my action is defected. My action is wrong. Yes? Have I defected in my action? Perfect action, perfect moral is I am servant of Krishna and Krishna is the owner. Because this I need act to pleasure of Krishna, not for me, not for my sense gratification, for my false ego. The understanding is gained that everything is Krishna, everything comes from Krishna and everything must be used for Krishna. In that understanding, the Paramahansas no longer sees matter or spirit, no longer sees in dualities, yes, spirit and matter, but sees Krishna in everything. This is the perfect vision, this is perfect knowledge. Krishna is all. For example, before, okay, this building is building with bricks and all these things. But in the moment that we use this building to serve to Krishna, these bricks, this painting, all these material things become Brahman, become spiritual. Because all things that you use to serve the Brahman become Brahman also. Yes, this is the mysticism of the spirituality, mysticism of the bhakti. The verse 24 explains the spoon, the wood spoon, the havi, the butter, the fire, all this is Brahman when you sacrifice these things to Brahman. Okay, for example, this watch, it is material or spiritual? For devotees, this is spiritual, but many peoples will say that is material because this is did with material elements. But the knowledge of the person and the purpose that they give to this change all things. If I use this watch to know what time I will go take the bus to go to the rave or like this is material thing. But when I use the same watch, what time start the Mangalartik, I have 10 minutes to go to Mangalarti. Yes, we are using this watch to regulate my sadhana, my spiritual life. This watch becomes spiritual also. This is the mysticism of Yukta Vairagya, the real renunciation. Many will say that it is material because it is made of material elements, raw material obtained from nature. The question that follows is, whose nature? Where come from the nature? Where does material nature come from? What it is source of creation. If everything comes from Krishna and Krishna is completely spiritual, how can anything be different from its nature? Complete and perfect, as the invocation of Ishupanishad indicates. Om Purna Mada Purna Midan. This verse is many important because this verse said, all things that come from the Brahman, the complete and perfect person, Krishna, also is complete and perfect in your nature. Om Purna Mada Purna Midam Purna Purna Madaya. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 11, as it is not possible for one with a body to give up all actions completely, he who gives up the results of action is considered a tyagi, a renunciation. And Prabhupada gives an amazing purport by this verse. Open quotation, Prabhupada. Therefore, he who works for Krishna and does not enjoy the fruitive results, who offers everything to Krishna, is actually a renouncier. Look how this is special, because one can think that the renunciation is the person that have a saffron dot, yes, without this part and behind, or that person go to Himalayas and stay alone in meditation. But here in Bhagavad Gita, 5,000 years ago, Krishna is expanding a lot the concept of renunciation, who is a renunciation, and this concept is very much applicable to persons in society. Like Prabhupada will say now, there are many members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness who work very hard in their office or in the factory or some other place, and whatever they earn, they give to the society. And whatever they earn, they give to the society. Such highly elevated souls are actually sannyasis and are situated in renounced order of life. Yeah? If a person work in a factory or in an office, but he used the earning only for keeping the necessary, and the excedent he gives to spending Krishna consciousness, spending spread the Krishna's message. This person is a renunciant. This person is a perfect sannyasi, according to Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. I have an interesting the soldier metaphor. This is a very interesting. Okay, this is verse 17, chapter 18, translation by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He who does not think he is the doer and is not attached to actions by thinking them good or bad, does not kill even though he kills, and is not bound. And Prabhupada explains in purport. In this verse, the Lord informs Arjuna that the desire not to fight arises from false ego. Yeah, this material world is too much complicated. if I connect with this material world, really sure I will involve it. Yes, I will attach this word. Yes, because this I will not enter in contact with this material world. Yeah, many thinkers like this. But Krishna said what? That attitude of dry renunciation. Yes, the material world is a problem. I will keep far away of it. This thinking is motivated by a false ego, because the devotees came to society for what? The real devotees of Krishna came to society not for sense gratification. Came and have many problems, many difficulties to spread the Krishna consciousness. Yes, spread the Prabhupada's books, spread the preaching. Yes, this is the purpose of devotees. Devotees not coming in society for our own satisfaction, came from Krishna satisfaction. Yes, Krishna not will come in personally. Well, came 5 years ago, 5,000 years ago, but Krishna generally not coming. Krishna give this important mission for your devotees, and devotees came in society that have many problems. Many food productions have animal things, yes, or the butter is a problem, have many problems. But Kala Dosha Nidirajan, in Kali Yuga, everything is contaminated. But have one thing that is pure in Kali Yuga. This thing is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Because these devotees living in society that is very problematic in Kali Yuga, only for spread the Mahamantra, only for spread the Krishna's message. If one does not know that a super sanction is there, why should he act? Anyone who is acting in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the Super Soul or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though killing does not kill, nor is he ever affected by the reaction of such killing. When a soldier kills under the command of a super officer, he is not subjected to be judged. But if a soldier kills on his own personal account, then he is certainly judged by a court of law. This example is fantastic. Yes? If one soldier are in the Swiss army, the Swiss army is neutral, but and go a war, and under the flag of Switzerland, he kill soldier enemies. He will be a hero, or he will be an assassin? He will be a hero. But if a soldier come back to Switzerland, and for our nature, for your disbalanced thinking, he kill people on the street, he will be a hero or assassin. If you want to go in material world under the guide of Krishna, under the guide of the spiritual master, your act is not contaminated. He is a hero because he not acting for himself, he acting for spiritual master satisfaction. But anyone that enter in material world and follow your mind this concept, he is responsibility for your actions. Yes, this is all science of act. In nothing, never one philosopher on this Occident, Western country, explained a so perfect theory of moral like Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. This is the most elevated concept of moral in the world. The problem that is the persons not accept Krishna. Okay, the awesome concept of renunciation by Srila Rupa Goswami. And Rupa Goswami take this concept of Yukta Vairagya on Srimad Bhagavatam, take this concept of Yukta Vairagya in Bhagavad Gita, he formulated in summary way the concept of Yukta Vairagya in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. These are perfect. Anasaktasya Vishayan Yatarham Payunjataha Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Uchate. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Wave 1, Chapter 2, verse 255. When one is not attached to anything but at the same time accepts anything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. Follow. Prapanchiktaya buddhya hari sambandhi vastunaha mumukshuvi parityago falgu vairagyam katyate. One who rejects anything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is incomplete in his renunciation. Okay? This is concept of Yukta Vairagya, that possibility Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati spread to whole world the Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati start use the glasses, cars, chips, and all things for proposal of preaching. Before Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, the model of Bhakti in Gaudiya Vaishnavism is like Rupa and the Goswamis of Vrindavan, yes? Only a kopina under the tree in very, very austere renunciation. The ask is the common peoples, the peoples on the world can follow this model of Rupa Goswami? Not. Because this based on the concept of Yukta Vairagya, real renunciation, the process of Bhakti Yoga from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can spread on the whole world. This is very, very important, understanding what is renunciation. That is a very possible thing if you understand Krishna and you surrender to Krishna. But another way, renunciation, the dry renunciation, yes, the radical renunciation without Krishna, without the knowledge of Krishna, is very, very complicated. It's very, very difficult for this nowadays. Okay, I will finish now. If you have comments or question in slowly, I can answer. If you know, we'll go to Prasada. Yes. Okay. Gantarash Madhbhagavatam ki. Go Premanande. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki.